In the last video, I told you it's important to prioritize your tasks. Let's take a look at what exactly I said. And the first tip is to be really crystal clear on your top 2 to 3 priorities that you feel like you really need to get done before the end of the year in order to feel accomplished. After I recorded this video, I started to wonder, do you actually know how to prioritize your tasks? It's something that we oftentimes talk about, right? We oftentimes say we need to prioritize this, we need to prioritize our time, we need to prioritize our most important tasks in our life, but how do we actually get started? How do we properly prioritize? Those are all questions that I want to resolve in today's video. So let's get started. Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Julia Arndt, and I'm a peak performance coach and stress management trainer. In today's video, I want to talk with you about a really interesting topic, which is how do you actually start prioritizing your tasks? How do you prioritize your life? How do you simplify your life? There are a couple of different techniques and examples that I want to share with you in today's video, and I hope that those examples and insights will really help you to start prioritizing. First of all, if you feel like you don't prioritize well, then I highly encourage you to do a little exercise. Maybe on Monday or Tuesday next week, after watching this video, you start to track your time. And this is a super simple task. I just want you to take a white piece of paper, and every 15 minutes or every time you did a chunk of time working on a certain task, I want you to write that down. And I want you to be as detailed and specific as possible. I actually highly encourage you to track every 15 minutes of your day to be really clear on where you're spending your time. This can be a huge eye-opener because when you start to see where you are spending your time, you will also have probably a realization on where you are wasting your time. How often do we sit around and we just stare at our phone and 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour goes by with just scrolling through social media, responding to a couple of different messages, but not really getting anything done. We oftentimes do that not just once, but multiple times during the day. So when you start really tracking your time, even just for a day, it will be a really good insight on how you are currently managing your life, managing your time, and potentially not prioritize very well. If you need more information about how to manage your time, I do have a 5-day free time management course on my website as well that I highly encourage you to do. A lot of people have already done it and found it super helpful. It's free. You get an email every day and with a step-by-step guide on basically how to start managing your time, because managing your time and prioritization goes kind of hand in hand with each other, okay? Okay, so now that you know how to track your time, let's dive into a couple of different techniques on how you can start prioritizing. The first technique that I want to share with you today is called the Deathbed Exercise. I heard about this technique the very first time from UC Berkeley professor Sahar Youssef, who I interviewed on my podcast, and she talked about how to become superhuman. Let's take a look at what she explained what the deathbed exercise is.
I have students and myself do something called the deathbed exercise. And in this particular exercise, you visualize you are, whatever age you're comfortable with. Let's just say 100 for simplicity's sake. You're 100 years old and you're on your deathbed. So it's the end. Let's say, you're surrounded by your loved ones, etc. It's time to go. Looking back on your life, what should have occurred? What experiences should you have had in order to make it so that you feel comfortable and happy to let go and move on? Mm-hmm. What's going to help you leave with a smile on your face? No regrets. Mm-hmm. What's really all that important at that time? And really sitting with that visualization of what's going to help you live the life that you want to live. What's actually important, what accomplishments, what experiences, etc. And once you have your first guess as to what those things are, because this is the other thing I usually recommend my students and myself as well, is that you have to call bullshit on your first answer. Because it's going to be deeply, deeply impacted by your culture, your parents, society, what seems appropriate. What's the right answer? It's like, oh, I want to be like a good father. I want to be a good mother. I want to do this and I want to do that. Are you sure? How important is that really? Do you want to just maybe, how about being a good enough mother? Maybe it's not the number one, and that's okay. Normalize it. You know, it's whatever it is that's actually important. That's the goal, is to try to get to the heart of that. So that we can have that trickle down effect after we do this deathbed exercise and we've called bullshit, we really thought about it, and we rank, you know, let's say the top 3 things or the top 5 experiences and accomplishments that if you were to have them would make your life complete and good and amazing, and you would leave and move on with a smile on your face. Once we know what those items are, then we need to start planning. We need to start looking at how you're using your time. You need to say, if the top 3 items are to be the best mother I can be, the best mother I can be, you know, to do my job effectively and to level up, let's say, to X position that's maybe 2 above where you are now. And here, Julia, you give me a third one. What's the third one? To be healthy, maybe. You were saying.
Yes, I like that. Yes.
Yeah. To be healthy and active, to live a good life for myself physically in terms of mental and physical health. Let's say those are the 3 things. Well, how does that translate? Where does your time go right now? How many hours a day do you actually spend meaningfully with the kids? How many hours a day do you spend at the job? The things that you're doing at work on a daily basis, are they the activities that will help you level up? Because if the thing about your job is to level up, well, let's prioritize whatever's going to help you level up.
Super interesting, right? If you want to learn more about what Sahar says about the deathbed exercise, make sure you head over to my podcast channel and you're watching the whole podcast. I highly recommend it. It's super, super insightful and Sahar is super wonderful. But let's summarize what Sahar says about the deathbed exercise. You basically imagine that you are 100 years old and you ask yourself the question, what kind of experiences did you want to have in your life to go and leave with peace, right? And so there might be 3 things in your life that are super, super important for you. Let's say, for example, your family life is really important, your work is really important, and your health is really important, right? 3 different things. And now the question is, how can you break this down onto a day-to-day basis? How do you break down your time in order to make sure that all of these different things are fulfilled at the end of your lifetime? So this is a really, really cool exercise and you can totally try it out. So the deathbed exercise is a really interesting technique to start prioritizing your life. The second technique that I want to share with you is a little bit more of a short-term technique or exercise to prioritize the things that are important to you in your life. And when we are looking at that second technique, I want you to identify simply 2 to 3 things or 2 to 3 goals that you want to reach in the next 6 to 12 months. This could be anything from, for example, reaching a promotion at work, or learning a new skill, or finalizing a really, really important project, or creating a new healthy routine in your life. No matter what it is, be really, really clear on what that goal is. And if you need more insights on how to set powerful goals, make sure to check out the video on my YouTube channel. So now that you have identified 2 to 3 things in the next 6 to 12 months that are super important for you, then you can start also to trickle those things down. So you can think about it in a 6 months term, in a 3 months term, in a monthly term, weekly, and then daily, right? How do you trickle down these different tasks? And when we're thinking about this, it's almost like we are project managing that goal, which is a really powerful exercise to do, because when you're starting to be really, really clear on why you want to do something, then you can also create a plan. You can create the how. So write down a list of things that are important to do in order to reach that goal. So for example, if you want to get into a healthier workout routine, for example, you shouldn't set the goal from week 1 and from day 1 that you are exercising 1 or 2 hours a day or 5 or 6 times a week. That is really, really unrealistic, and that will make you not achieve that goal. So it's really important that when you are starting to think about prioritization, it is important that you are staying really realistic to what is actually possible and what needs to get done to get to that long-term thing. Because oftentimes you can feel really overwhelmed by just seeing this like super big goal, by seeing this like big project, and that it's really, really hard to kind of trickle it down because we just feel that overwhelm. Don't feel overwhelmed. It's totally okay if you do, because we all feel that way sometimes, but you need to just know how to overcome that feeling of overwhelm. And you can do that by simply writing down a list of things that are important to do in order to achieve that goal. So write down a list of things, and once you have that list, then you can start really planning your day. Plan it by day, by week, and by month. This is how I do it. And it is really powerful. I even create little time slots on my calendar to remind myself, when do I need to do certain things in order to move forward? And the good news is that even if you just do something once a week for an hour, it will still get you to that goal. It will still help you to prioritize your tasks, because you identified that this is really important for you. And that is always the most important step when we are talking about prioritization, because you need to be really clear on what it is that you need to get done. And then you basically trickle it down step by step. And finally, what is important to say here as well is that the list that you're writing down doesn't have to be perfect right from the start. This is the next expectation that we're putting on ourselves, right? But it's absolutely not necessary. So if you have something on your mind that you want to get done, let's say, for example, a project at work, and you don't really know all of the pieces to the puzzle that need to get done, then that's totally okay. Just start somewhere. You need to start somewhere. That is always the first most important thing. You need to take that first step. And so when you are getting started, just start to write down a list of items. And maybe today that list is not complete. And that's totally okay. Oftentimes it's not, because just once we start to think about certain things, we're starting to really create more awareness around the things that need to get done. So put that list away after you wrote it, and then maybe get back to that list 2 or 3 or 4 days later and see if you can complete it, if there are more things that come to your mind. Or maybe you're having a conversation with a colleague or with somebody that can help you attain that goal. It could also be that you have somebody that helps you to create this plan, right? Maybe you have a stakeholder or a client that can give you input on what is necessary in order to make this project successful. No matter if that project is a promotion or if it is a specific project at work, okay? Because even a promotion is kind of a project. That's how I at least see it. And once you see all of these different little parts in your life and all of these different goals as a project, I feel like it's kind of easier, but that's just me. I was a project manager in my former life, and that's kind of how I see my whole life. And also when I, for example, created this business, and while I'm creating this business here, is that I'm always thinking in terms of projects. What do I need to get done? What do I need to do in order to get it done? And then how can I trickle it down day by day? So that is a different way on how to prioritize, but also a very effective way. And I want to just highlight it one more time. It is really, really important to get started, to do something, to get into action. This is the thing that is, I think, holding us back the most, because oftentimes we have these things on our mind, or like I said earlier, you're starting to feel overwhelmed and then you just kind of drop it and you never get started because you're feeling overwhelmed. So don't feel overwhelmed. It's totally okay. You can do it. The last thing that I want to share with you today is an example from a book that I'm currently reading. And it is so powerful that I really believe that once you hear this example, it becomes really clear on how to prioritize, and also check in with yourself if the way you are prioritizing your life at the moment is really reflective of what is important to you. The book is called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and I highly encourage you to read it because I fully enjoy it and it's super interesting. He gives an example about a woman that is currently prioritizing her day this way. She gets up in the morning, she makes sure that her husband and her kids get out of the house, and then she's doing a lot of household chores. And if she has an hour or 2 left at the end of the day before her husband and kids are coming home, she's sitting down to write a book because she's actually a writer. So the author says to her, because the author is also a coach, so he just uses this as an example, and he says to her, okay, so based on the insights that you provided to me, I can see that family life is really, really important for you. This is your number one priority. Your number two priority is that the house is clean and everything is done before your children and your husband comes home. And then your third priority is to make sure that you're also advancing writing your book. And she stops and she says, no, this is actually not my priority. It is way more important for me to write my book before I'm doing any household chores. And so the coach, N.G. Hendricks, basically says to her, well, but if I'm looking at your day-to-day at the moment, this does not reflect your priorities. It looks like your household chores are a lot more important for you and you're spending so much time on that sometimes you don't even have any energy at all to sit down and write. And so this was a super eye-opening moment for this person. And so she started to change her schedule and she started to put her writing work first before the household chores because that had a higher priority. So this is a really good way on how you can check, based on also the insights that you hopefully gain from tracking your time, on what is really important for you. If somebody would follow you around, do you really want to show them that you're spending 2 or 3 hours on social media and watching TV a day? Or is it a lot more important for you to go outside and move your body, for example? Okay? So really, really powerful exercise to do, really powerful reflection. And with that, I'm going to leave you today. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions, you can always leave them down below here in the comment box. I'm always really excited to hear from you. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and I really hope to see you in the next one.